My husband want a divorce, but I don't. To make a long story short, I fucked up big time. I have been with my partner for 6 years, three of them married. I never once felt the need to seek out other men or even cared to even interact with anyone else until this past year. My parents divorced about 2 years ago, and I haven't talked to my father since. He is a very narcissistic and manipulative person, and I am scared that as I am getting older, I am picking up on his habits. I don't want to be like him at all, but recently, this past year, something in me changed. I thought it may have been my birth control and the hormones, so I stopped taking it, but it's almost like it got worse. At the beginning of this year, I confessed to having a crush on a coworker to my husband. But I didn't have any attraction to that person. It was more of an attraction to the attention I was getting that I felt like I lacked from my husband. Several months later, I began talking to another guy behind my husband's back. For me, it was just a friendship. I was seeking out advice and attention in all the wrong places. This person and I never developed a relationship, and I never had any feelings for them. But I got so captivated in a high of sneaking around and talking to this person that I began lying to my husband even more. Deep down, I wanted to stop. I wanted to cut this friendship off and focus on my marriage. But I couldn't until I was caught, which eventually I was one night when I lied to my husband and went to this person's house. It's like I knew I would get caught eventually and I wanted to, but at the same time, I wasn't ready to change. I liked the feeling of freedom. On top of this, I began to hang out with a group of girls who were single, liked to party, liked to have fun. Not to mention, I got married at 17, so it's like I felt like I needed to make up for my youth and see what I was missing out on. So I began to put these friends in front of my marriage and devote my time to them instead of my husband, which was another huge mistake that I failed to realize at the time because I was so caught up in myself and in a high of independence. Then, recently, an old acquaintance from high school reached out to one of my girlfriends and asked for my number. I agreed to let him have it, not thinking anything would come from it. I began talking to this person pretty frequently and agreed to meet up for lunch once. Then shortly after I agreed to hang out with him twice, I made it clear to him that I was married and seek nothing more than friendship and advice. But still for some reason I continued to talk to him knowing my husband wouldn't like it, and that I needed to go home and water my grass instead of devoting my attention elsewhere. Eventually, I was caught again. I invited this person over to my mom's while she was out of town, and I was dog sitting for her. For the record, I have never once physically cheated on my husband or even considered it. Some may say I had an emotional affair, but it was never anything more. I love my husband, I really do. He is my best friend, and I wish I knew why I did this to him. It's almost like I was watching over myself and had no control. I want to fix myself. I want to change. I want to fix my marriage. I have already lost all contact with this other guy. I didn't have contact with any other man. I have distanced myself from my friends and explained to them that I need to focus on my marriage and fix it. My husband hates me, which he has every right to. He wants a divorce, but I don't. I want to win his love back and the person he fell in love with again. I am receiving religious and medical help now, trying to figure out this problem I have with myself. I do not want to wake up one day and be served with divorce paper. I don't know how to keep my husband from divorcing me. He deserves better, and I want to be that better for him. I understand it's going to take time for the trust to even be considered, but I am willing to do whatever it takes. "25 female. I'm having an affair. So I don't expect any sympathy for what I am about to say. I realize that you all will probably hate me, and I rightfully deserve it, but I have no one I can talk to about this. I met my husband, 30 male, when I was 21. After dating for only a couple of months, I found out I was pregnant. He was so sweet during that time, and we were both financially stable, so we made a decision to parent. We also decided to do the right thing and get married. After only 4 months of knowing each other, suddenly we were married, living together, and having a baby. It was all so fast, and I was so young. Fast forward to now, we are still married and we have an amazing son. My husband is the most wonderful father I have ever met. He is so completely devoted to his son. He is good to me too. He's kind and gentle and a hard worker. He doesn't do drugs, doesn't hit me, is all around a good guy. Our relationship is more like a close friendship. We co-parent together very well and we trust each other. However, we just never really fell in love. I love him as my son's father and as a friend, but I am not and have never been in love with him. We even live as friends more than husband/wife. We very rarely have sex, and most of our conversations involve our child. I reconnected with an old friend, 25 male, last spring, and our friendship grew to very flirtatious. He told me in July that he's always had feelings for me, but he understands the situation and will respect whatever I feel comfortable with. I have feelings for him that I never felt for my husband. I feel good about myself when I'm with him. Last week, our emotional affair became sexual. I feel horrible about doing this to my husband. I know I'm a bad person. I just don't know what to do from here. I haven't told my husband about any of it. I have tried cutting out my relationship with the other guy a number of times before it got sexual, but I keep going back. I don't want to leave my husband. He's such a good father, and I don't want my son to grow up in a broken home. I don't want to have a split time for my child. I don't want to have to find a new place to live and divide all of our stuff. The thought is too overwhelming. To be honest, I probably wouldn't even be with my husband if we didn't have a child involved. We probably would have broken up a long time ago. The other man knows that I am having a hard time and is giving me space to figure it all out. I have spent all day crying and I just need to get this out there. Even if you all think I'm scum, I just don't know where to go from here. My 26, male, wife 27, female, cheated, but my family are taking her side and making things harder for me. Sorry if it's too long. I try to write things that happened to me in the past 3 months, and I'm not great in English, so there are probably a lot of mistakes in the tests. We grew up almost together. Our parents were close friends, and we lived in the same building. I used to hate her when I was a kid because she was always better than me, and I can say she received more love from my parents than me. We both accepted in best uni in our country, but they only held a party for her, and their excuse was she ranked second in the whole country while I was only top 50. But she herself cared for me more than anyone else. She confessed to me when I was 17 and we got married when I was 23, 3 years ago. We had a great marriage until 3 months ago I came home, and before going in I stopped to smoke a cigarette. Then I heard my wife's voice from window. I went closer to talk to her, and it was when I heard her saying, "We should end this. It's wrong. I love Dan. What she call me? Don't call me again. I felt like I wanted to throw up my stomach. I felt really, really bad. But after a few minutes, I calmed down and went in. I didn't say anything to her. I was trying to convince myself maybe I'm wrong. Later, my wife left the house to go to gym. She always leave her phone at home when she's going to gym. After struggling for a few minutes, I decided to check her phone. I can open it with my fingerprints. It was her decision to add my fingerprints so I can use it in case of emergency. I find the chats very fast. They've been talking since 1 month ago. I was expecting that she had already deleted anything about him, but well, it was all there. I knew the guy from high school. He had nothing but looks. After reading the chats, I realized they got in contact in a school gathering party, and my wife asked him a few questions about photos since he's a model, and then they had a meeting which I didn't know about. After that, they were more intimate and went on a second date. He kissed her in that date and they talked about it in chat. It was for 2 days ago. I had enough. I stopped reading. I wrote, "I want divorced. How did you do that to me?" on paper and left it on top of the phone with chat still open and left the house. I turned off my phone and went to my parents' house. Next day when I woke up, she was there and I soon realized my parents think we had a problem and want to help us. They would keep saying married couples always fight and we should overcome these issues. I was really tired, angry, and when my father repeated almost the same thing, I shouted, "She fucking cheated on me." She cheated on me and then I realized I'm crying. I left the house and went to my parents' house. I expected my parents to take my side and stop bothering me, but next day my mother called me and said she explained everything to me. She's really sorry, it's not that bad. She didn't have any close relationship with him. We should be forgiving. I was desperate. I said no, I want divorced, and she kept telling those things again. And she was saying I'm overreacting. It was only a small mistake, and it's like they had sex. They just meet 2 times. I hung up. A few days later, I went to my parents' house to talk with my father about selling the house after divorce, and he said, "I'll only allow you in my house with your wife," and closed the door. It was second saddest moments in my life after when I realized my wife cheated. It's been 3 months and my parents keep asking me to forgive her and don't allow me in their house. We're still married because she refused to sign the divorce papers. And in my country, when of partners refuse to get divorced, it will take lots of time and they have to first participate in 3 sessions with a therapist. And she has been following me whenever she can, crying, asking me to forgive her another chance, and seeing her like this make me really sad because I really loved her. But I just can't forgive her. I just can't trust her anymore and not think about how she cheated on me. I don't know anymore what to do with my life, how to deal with my parents, or even how to make her stop. P.S. In my country, unless she does something serious like hurting me, I can sue her for anything, and honestly, I don't even want to do that if it was possible.